Hi, everybody. Welcome to Lesson 3. In Lesson 3, we're going to look at what are called Google operators. Inside of Google, there are some kind of tricky backdoor secret search codes or search tips. And I think the most important one, the one that we can teach kids to use the most, is what's called site colon. And that is how to do a search on a specific site or in a specific domain. And so what that does is that tells Google to search only specific sites or site, depending on what we're doing. And that way we can narrow it down, search things like universities or government sites or national parks or even specific websites if we're doing shopping or whatever it happens to be. The sort of analogy for the site colon is, if we were trying to buy a pair of shoes, we would only want to go to shoe stores. We wouldn't go into or search for every single store, whether it had shoes or not. And so just kind of a narrowed down specific tool. So the first one, what I wanted to look at here in week one's information, you've got this Google Slides that is available that are sort of some vetted like sites for history. There's also a slide for science and then math. And so these are the site colon codes or addresses for specific things like the national parks or the Library of Congress or the National Archives. You got to be careful on specific things like the History Channel or the Biography Channel because there are some fictional shows on those stations or those things. So just be careful there. So I want to show you what we mean by that. So let's say, for example, we'll go Civil War spies. Okay, so that's a search. So we'll just do a normal search here, Civil War spies. And you notice, of course, the first thing that pops up is over here in the Google Now card is Wikipedia. As we scroll down, there's history.com, Ducksters, here's Wikipedia, some of those, Smithsonian, so that might be okay. But we're not necessarily, locked in on something specifically there. So let's say that we do want to do a search for specifically the Smithsonian. So all you do is in the back of your search, you go site colon, and then you can search the address. In this case, the Smithsonian is si.edu. And how do I know that? Well, it's over here on this sheet right here that I have. But also you can search, and we'll show you in a second, by the entire website or domain name, if that's easier. So we're going to do that search. Notice then any of my search results here, American history, SI, every single one of these is from the Smithsonian. And so that's pretty reliable information. So I could check that site out here. Again, here's the Smithsonian's website, and then whatever we're interested in terms of spies. Another really good one history-wise is national parks, and so that is nps.gov. You can also search just .gov for all government sites. NPS narrows it down to the National Park Service. National Park Service is really good about its background research. Here's one right here: Spies, the Civil War, U.S. National Park Service. Good information here with various spies. And this is a good sort of just kicking off point for, if we're doing a big list of people or to find a specific person or whatever it happens to be. So that site colon searches that specific site. And we actually did that in Twitter for Teachers with the twitter.com using that way. Another one specifically would be a lot of younger groups do animal research or animals. So let's say, I want to do panda bear, right? So that's my animal I'm going to pick out. If I just do a generic search for panda bear, number one, it comes up with the musician, this guy over here, who apparently is Panda Bear. Again, Wikipedia, stuff that maybe I don't necessarily want, a Facebook page for Panda Bear. So we want to be more specific. So we're going to do site, right? And, for Panda Bear, we might do, let's say we want to do National Geographic Kids. Well, the problem is if I go to this over here, and I do have some of these listed, but not necessarily the National Geographic Kids. So I don't know what my domain search should be. So the good news is, if you just do a quick search for National Geographic Kids, all you have to do is get the actual web address. So if I go in here, I'm going to copy the web address of the site or the domain that I want to search. I'm going to go back to Panda Bear. I'm just going to paste it in behind my site colon, and that will do a search for Panda Bear on that specific site. Now it returns my search results for Panda Bears only in that National Geographic Kids domain. You might say, like, why don't I just go to that page and do a search, which is good. Sometimes, number one, the pages are hard to navigate in terms of finding what you want, in terms of menus and that kind of stuff. Also, there are certain pages that don't have a search feature where you couldn't type it in or do it. So this really gets there quickly and is a really important skill for kids to know how to do. Another option is, let's say, museums. So I want to do like, let's say I'm doing Babe Ruth, famous American sports heroes or whatever it happens to be. Again, there's Babe Ruth Wikipedia, Baseball Reference, official site of Babe Ruth. But I'm going to do it, and I want to have it be through the Baseball Hall of Fame, because that's a pretty reliable source of information. Here we go, baseballhall.org. Again, if I just copy that web address, and then in behind my search query is a fancy word for what you searched for, okay? I'll copy paste in, and it will return any Babe Ruth searches inside the Baseball Hall of Fame. So if I go there, it takes me directly to the Babe Ruth page inside the National Baseball Hall of Fame. It's just a really, really good skill in terms of searching. And we need to be teaching our kids what is reliable in terms of academic information, how to get there. One of the things I know a lot of teachers do is they do teachers pay teachers. And so this is another way. Let's say, we just had Valentine's. Let's say I'm going to do Valentine's writing prompts, and I'm going to use teachers pay teachers. Again, I just come through here, I copy that domain, paste it in. Anything that's returned is out of teachers pay teachers for those Valentine's writing prompts. So a couple different examples and showing you how to do it. Last thing I want to show you, high school teachers especially, if you're doing any writing or any research and you're using the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress is a mess to navigate in terms of the articles and the sources and the journals and the bills and all kinds of stuff. Let's say we do Roe v. Wade site, and the Library of Congress, oops, no space, is loc.gov. And again, that's in the list there, or you could search the Library of Congress. That will return any of the Library of Congress items on, say, Roe v. Wade, or whatever you happen to be looking at, because the Library of Congress is hard to navigate, but it is a great place for governmental resources. So that's lesson 3, using that cite : search feature, which will hopefully speed you up and get you a lot of reliable sources.